Namaskar. Welcome to another episode, or possibly, I'm sorry, I'm so used to talking about editorial that I always end up saying another episode. Okay, this is our first episode of this new show called Headlines Today. Now, Akhilesh and I will be hosting this show. What we are going to do in this show is we are going to talk to you about various headlines. Lot of Indian newspaper headlines, sometimes even foreign newspaper headlines. So we will talk about the headlines of today. This will be interesting is because we are not only going to talk about headlines, but we'll also talk about few things which are not necessarily normally mentioned in media. We will talk, like we always say, we will talk beyond headlines too. Okay? So my show, and this is Akhilesh and me doing this show. And Akhilesh, let me start with you.
Yes,
Welcome to the show. Welcome to our maiden show. So
yes.
great. I see you are at home and you are comfortable. Great. Akhilesh, let's start with our first headline, and that is the mic is to you.
Okay, awesome. Of course, good, exciting show that I'm looking forward to, Sudeep. I'm sure we'll end up having exciting, interesting debates between the two of us.
Correct.
Maybe I pitching more from my perspectives, which are largely on the domain of economics, etc. And of course, no economics is fun without the spice of politics, which comes from you then. So my headline today, Sujit, which has been on all the newspapers, has to do with the takeover of Air India by the Tatas. Now, if we just go in a bit of history, the government has been struggling with privatization of PSUs in India since quite some time. The first one you will remember, Sujit, was 1999. Modern Foods was sold to Hindustan Lever. And thereafter, the Bajpayee government, of course, tried to continue with it. They did manage to sell a number of PSUs, which included your VSNL, the CMC, Computer Maintenance Corporation, a few hotels, etc. Of course, notably Balco and Hindustan Zinc. After the last sale in 2003-4 of Hindustan Zinc, that was the last privatization. We now have Air India going back to its original promoters. Uh, the of course, there are a number of questions. Was it really worth it for them to have taken over Air India back after it is loaded with so much of debt? Is Air India really going to be able to manage it? Is Air India really going to become a profitable entity, or is it just of emotive value to the Tatas? They are taking it back. So all kinds of questions remain. Some issues that I would want to point out which are worth noting. From the employees' perspective of Air India, no VRS permitted, no retrenchment permitted till 1 year. From the second year, the Tatas can think of retrenching, even though Chandrasekhar has very warmly welcomed all the employees of Air India into the Tata fold. The second condition is that they cannot part with the Air India brand or the Air India logo to anybody for 5 years at least. And after the fifth year, if they do, it has to necessarily go to an Indian company. So the government is hell bent on ensuring that Air India remains an Indian entity. And to ensure viability of the entire enterprise, Air India, Sujit, had a total debt of about 1 lakh crore on the books. Tatas have taken over just 15,300 crores out of that 1 lakh crores. The government is expecting to recover 18,000 crores from all those non-core assets of Air India, all the land, building, art, and all that they had. So the government will end up writing off 67,000 crores of Air India debt at the end of the day. That's the broad mechanics of it. The Tata Sons chairman, Chandrasekhar, very nicely, vividly recalls that the first flight he took as a TCS intern was with Tata, and perhaps now he's been in the cockpit for quite some time. I think that's a game changer in India to the extent that maybe with this difficult PSU privatization taking place, we might be able to see more of them happening, Sujit. I think to that extent, I'm waiting and watching. Um, Maybe the government thinks it is now going to have the political guts or the willingness to do that.
Akhilesh, tell me, how do you see this Air India deal? Is it fair? Was the deal good? Was the government negotiations correct? Was it fair? Was it done, with possibly benefiting government of India? Was it win-win situation for both for Tata and the government of India? How do you see this deal?
Sujit, I have been watching this deal for quite some time. in 2017 is when the government first announced that the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has given an approval that that Air India can be and should be privatized. At that time, the government's expectation was that Air India will fetch 50,000 crores. To me, that was just not possible. It was unthinkable. They approached a number of airlines worldwide, including the likes of Lufthansa, British Airways, etc. All of them balked and walked away from the deal. 50,000 crores was just not worth it. I think the government had a dilemma. How do you value such an enterprise, and how do you kind of silence your opponents that you've not sold the family silver cheap? So the first attempt in 2017 was a complete failure. It just fell flat on the face. We are in 2021 for that matter, for the simple reason that in October 21, the deal was finally approved. So it took 4 long years for a determined government to finally find a buyer. If you ask me, of course, with due respect to the Tatas, I think they paid a steep price of 18,000 crores for this deal. Air India does come with what they are saying, a number of planes. They have about 141 planes, most of which are owned by Air India. But the flip side is they are said to be an aging fleet. On the other hand, they also come with a lot of staff, which the Tatas are trying to say that they are very trained and experienced pilot and crew. So they're trying to gloss over it. I think 18,000 crores was a steep price. The reserve price set by the government, Sujit, was 12,906 crores. It was, heard when the deal had been approved in October 2021 that the government secretaries had to actually persuade the Tatas to bid and, take it over. So maybe some kind of a sweetheart transaction was offered. So to answer your question, I think they paid a steep price. Going by the way the airline industry is, and going by the way that very few airlines worldwide ever make profits. But then maybe they are looking at synergies between Vistara, Air Asia, and Air India. Maybe they are looking at that. Maybe they think that the wide international network of Air India's routes worldwide, their landing rights, their bilateral exclusive treaties for flying rights, etc. Maybe they think that that would turn out to be extremely profitable. I'm sure they would have done some back of the envelope calculation before they went for it, Sujit.
Let me ask you a question, Akhilesh. Akhilesh, Kingfisher started going down after it bought over uh,
Air Sahara,
Air Sahara and even
Air
Captain
Deccan.
Gopinath, Air Deccan.
Yes, yes.
It started going down. Are we seeing something like this? Because, like you rightly said, see, industry is not doing well. Aviation industry is not doing well. We also know that most of the airlines in the world, like you again rightly said, they are not doing profits. So what? I mean, what are we doing? Buying another airline for Tata's. What was Tata thinking? Is it just purely an emotional decision?
I think, even when in October 21, when it was announced that the Tatas have successfully bid for it, Sudeep, they were very emotional responses coming, welcome to the fold and welcome back home, and, those kind of statements. With due respect to the Tatas, going into the history of takeovers, it's not been the best. Like if you talk about the the Chorus Steel takeover by the Tatas, when Ratan Tata was at the helm, I still remember as a young chartered accountant reading the headline, oh, what a marvelous transaction they have done, etc. It fell flat on their face. Jaguar has also not turned out to be as good as they thought.
Correct.
The Tata Teleservices and Docomo agreement never went through the way it was. Tata were left with 10,000 crores of losses on their books. So, well, they don't have the best of track record for takeovers. I hope they have thought very well over it before they did take the decision this time, Suchi.
And secondly, another question that I wanted to ask you, Akhilesh. Akhilesh, do you think that as a country we should not be looking at business? The government should not be looking into business because that's not their business to look into business. We should have more privatization. As a country, should we be doing that? Or should there be an ideal mix of government businesses, or that is corporations and private businesses? Or we should not be selling, we should not be disinvesting. What is your opinion? There is a lot of debate about this.
Sudit, the way I look at it is not that the private sector is some paragon of conducting business very well or very profitably or very ethically. If you look at the amount of corporate frauds that are taking place, It's a shame on the private sector. It's also a myth to think that, the public sector is more corrupt than the private sector. We have experienced probably more corruption in the private sector if we talk about. It is just that when you are in the private sector, there is a sense of accountability. Take the example of public sector banks. They keep bleeding our public money year after year. In the last 3 years alone, the government has pumped in about 3 lakh crores into these sick public sector banks. That's public money gone down the drain. So the only reason somebody like me favors privatization, or sorry, the private sector, is that there is a sense of accountability. You cannot keep bleeding and continuing and surviving and having a good time at the cost of the public exchequer. To that extent, I think private sector makes sense. There has to be accountability on the money that goes into it. We don't see that in the public sector. So going further on your question, I think the government does not have any business to be in business. And I support privatizations like this taking place. Hypothetically, suppose for a moment Air India turns out to be not a profit-making company for Tata's down the line. I wish it does. But suppose it doesn't. Finally, they will have to take the tab of losses being incurred. Why should public money be wasted? Just to point out to you, Air India was bleeding losses to the tune of 20 crores a day. That's the kind of public money it was guzzling. I think that should not be permitted. So that's precisely the reason why I favor the private sector over the public sector.
Okay, Akhilesh, let me also ask you another very popular question that is normally asked. Okay, bhai, theek hai, you know what? Selling Air India, good idea. Selling BPCL, not good idea. Ab, this can't be fair. Nahi, matlab, you know what? What is, if you are in losses, you sell it. If you are not in loss, you are making profits, you can't sell it. That is not fair either. Correct. So if you are selling,
Yes.
then you sell, which is loss or profit. But if you are
Yes.
not selling, then don't sell, loss or profit.
Yes.
Both. So it cannot be expected that all loss-making companies which are doing 20 crore losses per day, you go and palm it off to somebody else, and companies which are doing profits. So now tell me, if you look at it from that perspective, how do you look at how do you look at disinvestment?
For that, Sujit, I would go into a different concept. Treat public money as genuinely public money, money that belongs to the public. Let me put it in these words. In the last 15 years, one figure that I had read was the government has pumped in about 10 lakh crores in public sector banks, money gone down the drain. Okay. Now, if that 10 lakh crores had not gone down the drain and you had got just say a return on that money of just 5%, that would have meant 50,000 crores a year, Sujit. Now, that is immense amount of money that can be used for the benefit of the public. So, what I would follow as a principle is that hypothetically, if the public sector is putting public money to far better use than the private sector, then it makes sense. Okay, let's put public money, deal with it responsibly. After all, the public, the common man will benefit out of it. But where that is not so, where we are just losing money and going down the drain, there is no reason why we should be irresponsibly dealing with public money. That's the way I look at it, Sujit.
Akhilesh, last question on this. What do you see? I mean, this is like prediction game. What do you think will happen? You think Tatas will make money? You think Tatas will get Air India to profits?
Sujit, they already have Vistara, where they are 84% shareholders in partnership with Singapore Airlines. Sorry, 51% partnership with Singapore Airlines. They also have Air Asia with partnership of 84% with Air Asia. I'm told that both the companies have not got into profits. And now you have a behemoth like Air India, which comes with a lot of legacy issues, legacy of staff costs, legacy of planes which are growing old, legacy of, optimum utilization of landing rights. There are a lot of legacy issues that they are going to carry on them. So how soon will they get into profitability itself is going to be a long haul for them. And in case they do, I do not know what is the cost of funds and the return of investment that Tatas look at, but perhaps some other astute businessman might end up saying that I would have got a better return if I'd invested this money elsewhere.
So you're saying, in a way, you're saying that Tata is not going to make money, right? Akhilesh.
I think they may not get the kind of profits that you would optimum get on this kind of investment. Let me put it this way.
So you're still saying Tata is not going to make money, right?
I,
Let's face facts. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's get
so,
into.
Sujit, I have a headline on mine which you need to answer.
Please, please.
Yogi Adityanath says in his interview that anti-incumbency will not hit him in these elections. What do you think about it?
My God, my headline was the same. This was my headline. This is a Hindustan Times headline. I was just going to talk to you about it. I don't know whether you can see it. This is exactly my headline. I'm sorry. I think here it is. So I was going to anyway. Okay. This camera is computer camera, so I was going to talk exactly about it. You know, it's a very interesting election. Nobody can predict, and I tell you, all these opinion polls, though I always respect opinion polls, I have a lot of respect for people who do research, because I don't think everything is flipped and all that I'm not saying. But the fact is, I think this time the opinion poll, I don't know whether it is going to be true or not. See, while I am not saying that Modi and Yogi does not have their popularity in Uttar Pradesh, Akhilesh, the more I'm talking to people on ground, and I've been doing it for the last 3 weeks, I've been talking to a lot of people on ground. The more I'm talking to people on ground, the more I'm seeing the popularity of Samajwadi Party going up. Okay, Samajwadi Party, Akhilesh, last time around, which is 2017, had around 22% vote, and 21.8% or something vote, and Bharatiya Janata Party had something like 40% vote. So this was what it is, 38 point something percent vote. So this was what the difference is. But mind you, last time around, Bharat, Samajwadi Party had only fielded candidates in around 211 or 220 odd seats. I may not be exact to that figure, but all the same. Whereas this time around, the number of seats are more. So obviously, because of the sheer fact that the number of seats are more, the percentage of vote is going to be definitely be more. Number one. So it is not that Samajwadi Party started at 22 and this one BJP was at 40. It was not like that. Chances are Samajwadi started with a vote percentage of 30 versus the BJP being 40. So that's the first thing that one needs to understand. Secondly, what I've seen in the last 2-3 weeks is day after day, Samajwadi's popularity is growing. I am not seeing the same with Bharatiya Janata Party. Day by day, people are joining. See, Maurya joining Samajwadi Party itself ensured that a huge amount of Dalit votes were moving towards Samajwadi Party. So Dalit votes coming to Samajwadi Party, Jat votes coming to Samajwadi Party, Muslim votes coming to Samajwadi Party. This seems to be the trend now. So Samajwadi Party seems to be growing on a daily basis, whereas I don't see much of growth happening in Bharatiya Janata Party. On the contrary, I see Bharatiya Janata Party slowly losing their traditional votes, like the Jat votes, like the Dalit votes, slowly losing their votes. That being said, I'm still not therefore saying that everything is tilted towards Samajwadi Party. Samajwadi Party will come in flying colors and all. वो सब नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that this is going to be a very, very interesting election. Number one. Number two, it's going to be very, very important for both Modi, Yogi, and Bharatiya Janata Party. In fact, it is going to be more important for Bharatiya Janata Party, Yogi and Modi than to Samajwadi Party and Akhilesh. For the simple reason that this will determine how and what would 2024 look like. This is definitely going to determine
Sujit,
that.
I have just a remark to make. I am not getting
Please.
your voice very audible, so I have missed out a lot of your wisdom with the other viewers have got it.
Okay.
But
Can you hear me now?
having said that, I need to put two more questions to you. Will you just check up?
Akhilesh, I can hear you now. Hello. Akhilesh? Akhilesh, hello. I can hear you, Akhilesh. I can hear you clearly.
I can't hear you, Sujit. I get you
Oh,
very
okay.
garbled.
Prathamesh needs to help me on this. So this is what happens on live shows. Awesome.
Prathamesh,
So I think there is a technical issue. Uh, give us 1.5 minutes to set this up. I hope it gets rectified. Akhilesh, can you hear me? I think I'm so sorry about this. I'm so sorry about this show. I think there is some technical issue. We are not able to
He's
get
joining
to.
in, sir.
Are you? Are we back? Akhilesh, are we back?
Sujit, I'm not getting you.
I am so sorry. So I guess Akhilesh, I think we'll have to call it a day because I think there is a technical glitch. We can't keep our audience waiting. So we will continue with this program. We'll continue this every alternate day, and hopefully next time we'll have a better network and a better. Uh, I I think our program will be complete the way it should be. So here we are. I'll see you next time. Till I see you then. Namaskar.